Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Bryan Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I am your host, Bryan Gilmore, and I'm joined by my guy Frank Janisch. He's bopping to his own groove over there all the way in Chicago. What's going on, Frank?
Oh, I am just having a great old time. I had a pretty crappy week, but it's about to get a lot better because I'm here with you and our guest.
Yes, our guest is the often imitated but never duplicated, the one and only, built everything by herself, Taylor Robinson. What's going on, Taylor?
Hi, guys. Great to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. Obviously, we all got to spend some time together in Los Angeles, California not too long ago. But let's talk about the week that was here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. A lot of stuff went on, Frank. We had 3 matches, not 1. Not 2. Tres. That's Spanish for 3, if you didn't know. And a lot of action-packed stuff. So we're going to talk about all of it. We're going to break it all down like we always do. But let's start off with a little bit of news, courtesy of our friends over there at Let's Get Ready to Schmoedown.blog. Frank, why don't you take it away? What were some of the top stories for the Schmoedown this week, aside from, by the way, also go support the Patreon if you haven't already. Patreon supports everything that we love about the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, and we have a live event coming down the road, brother. Tickets on sale now. But Frank, what are some of the top stories in the Schmoevillian universe from this week?
Yeah, so if you want to dive more into these stories and you want to catch up, again, like Brad was talking about, go to Let's Get Ready to Schmoedown.blog. In this,
Let's get ready to Schmoedown!
.blog. One that I really want to talk about here because it concerns a live event. It's between JTE and John Roca. That's the main event. The undercard to that is the Wild Berries versus Real Rejects. And Tom, who writes the blog, there's some interesting quotes here that he pulls that Roca talks about with Take 3. And I'm just going to go through a couple of these and see what you guys think. First off, John says, "For me, this is a great challenge, and there is a very real possibility that I will lose to JTE. I'm not the outlaw if I don't take on these challenges. I'm not the outlaw if I don't test myself. JTE is the comeback player of the year. No one else has fallen as low as JTE did. So for him to come back and have a shot at going for the title is pretty amazing. He knows his movies, and he seems to get osmosis from Snyder in terms of his knowledge. There's the pressure of it being live, too. I don't know if JTE has done stuff live. I'm an actor, so I've done live stuff, and I'm aware of the space. It's going to be a different animal having a Schmoedown crowd there, though. Our studio crowd of 20 to 30 people are loud when you miss an easy question. Imagine what is going to be like with 300 in an auditorium. What's the atmosphere going to be like? What are the jeers going to be like when you miss an easy question? Brad, what do we think a live atmosphere is going to be like for these Schmoedown competitors who may have not ever been in front of 300, 400, 500 people?
Well, a live crowd is different, right? If you do, say, any kind of performance, you could do a performance in front of a small little group of people, an intimate setting, right? And it's a different vibe than when you have several hundred people there. When you have several hundred people there, energy starts coursing through your veins. All this adrenaline is rushing through your body. You're hyped up. You're amped up. And sometimes that adrenaline gets the best of you. Sometimes you're overcome by the moment, and you can make mistakes that you wouldn't otherwise if you were able to focus in a smaller event setting. So I think these are very astute observations by one John Roca. And if he's had live performing experience, which we know he has, that's going to play to his advantage. But this is what I like about John Roca, talking about the competition. He's not a champion. Let's pardon the wrestling reference. It's always going to come. A couple years ago, a guy named Dean Ambrose won the WWE Championship, a large criticism on him was he rested on his laurels, right? He didn't seem to have any fight in him after he won that title, and that is not the Outlaw. That is not John Roca. John Roca, he won the title, and he obviously he did great. He won the title, but when he lost it, you could tell he still had that fire, he still had that hunger. I want to get back into that position. And what is the way that John Roca gets back in that position is you beat a guy like JTE on a very big stage, both literally and metaphorically, which is going to be this first live event for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Taylor, let me throw it over to you. What do you think about Mr. John Roca's quotes?
I really think that he does bring up a lot of good points. I think that, coming from someone, I have been to some of these matches at Collider, and even when you're at an event like Spectacular and there's 30, 40, maybe 50 people there, even that can be distracting sometimes for competitors who aren't used to having that many people around or performing in front of that many people. So if you're adding a crowd that's, 10 times that size, it can really get to you if you let it distract you, or, if there's noise going on, if it's loud, if it's harder to hear things. So I really think that it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out with the elements of the Schmoedown that we know. And I also think that he's very smart for knowing that these are challenges that he has to take on if he wants to get back to the top.
Absolutely, and this is why John Roca continues to be one of the greatest players the game has ever seen and a perennial player for the league. He makes these observations, and he knows that he's going to have to adapt to his environment. It's like he's being put in the Thunderdome, if you know what I'm saying. Frank, what was the other piece of news that you talked about there at the top?
Yeah, another piece that actually concerns Roca here is that will he enter the Innergeekdom? He talked about this again with Take 3, but if you want to learn about that, I suggest going over to the Take 3 video, or you can go ahead and head over to the blog, Let's Get Ready to Schmoedown.blog, and read the piece that Tom put up there, and go check out the interview on Take 3 to hear all his full thoughts. It's a great watch, great listen, so I implore everyone to go ahead and do that. And then he also, there's a headline on the blog that I'll just tease, and the headline is Navarro's nemesis is to join forces, ? I'll leave that be. You guys can think about what that is, or go ahead and find out on the blog. So, Brad, without further ado, unless you have other thoughts on some of these things, Roca joining Innergeekdom?
We know John Roca has his definite strengths when it comes to certain categories that would be laid out in the Innergeekdom division. I think definitely Star Wars is something that he's well versed in. I don't know this to be certain, but I have a feeling that he's well versed in Harry Potter. I know he's had some interactions with the Potterverse before, so I have a feeling that he'd probably be do well in that category. But some of the other ones, I don't know. I don't know. Say James Bond gets thrown back out there. Is he good at James Bond? Let's take Back to the Future. I love John Roca. John Roca not good historically with Back to the Future.
No.
Fruit of the Looms, anyone?
Come on.
Taylor, what do you think? Do you think John Roca can make a serious go in Innergeekdom?
I think that if that's really something that he wants to pursue, absolutely, I think so. He does have some weaknesses in Innergeekdom categories, like you said, that we've seen, and he has said before that Innergeekdom's not really his wheelhouse. He was calling a match once and said that's not really something that he thinks he'd do well at. But that absolutely doesn't mean that he couldn't throw his hat into the ring and be really, really great at Innergeekdom if that's something he really wanted to do.
And I
agree with you there. Go ahead, Frank.
I just want to say that if he decides to put in the time and effort to get into his deficiencies that are within the Innergeekdom, I think he could be a big nuisance to people trying to get to the top. I think he could spoil some people's title shots, but I don't know if he could actually win the title. And that's just me saying this without seeing him ever play in the Innergeekdom match. Once he plays an Innergeekdom match and he performs however he performs, then that'll tell me whether or not he could legitimately challenge for the title, or if he will just be, one of these fringe people just on the outside of title contention for his Innergeekdom career. I know it's premature to kind of talk about all this. It's still fun to talk about it. So, and I'm sure now that I've said these words, Roca is going to hear it, put it up on his bulletin board, and then prove me wrong and all his other naysayers, because that's what he likes to do, because that's what the Outlaw does. So, I just can't wait for a year down the line where he comes and yells in my face and tells me I was wrong all along. And
see, Janisch, I told you, Janisch. I'm going to get all the belts, Janisch. I'm going to do it, Janisch. Jinga Janisch.
Yep, there. Yeah, that's. I don't know if he knows that one. Yeah, but yeah. So I look forward to seeing him throw that. I think it will. It's going to happen because otherwise you're not living up to all the belts, all the records. You're not living up to it, and he's at least going to go for it. I think so. It's going to be one hell of a day when he finally does show up in the Innergeekdom.
I think that it's definitely going to be something that he's got to do it. He's got to do it at least once. I think that he's too great of a player and he means too much to the league to not do it. I mean, we've seen a lot of great singles league competitors go into Innergeekdom and do well, be it K.O. Kalinowski or Rachel Cushing have both done well in that Innergeekdom category. So there's no reason that a guy like John Roca, the caliber of the player that he is, could not do the same. Jinga Janisch. That's what I got to say about it. Did we even talk about that, by the way? Did we talk about the incredible Facebook, Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook page poll that was put up?
Yeah, no, we didn't.
To see who the best wingman was. Who are the options? It was me and you. You were Frank Jinga Janisch. Yeah. I was Brad Hot Lips Gilmore, which I don't know where that one came from.
No, that's the mind of Corey Knott. That's the mind of him.
He's a very Corey naughty guy. What else do we now, what was John Roca's nickname? It was something real strange. What was it? Do you remember?
I don't know. Grandpa or something? I don't know.
It was something about like lamb chops or something. I don't remember what it was. It was something weird. It was something weird. But who ended up winning the poll? Was
it was Andrew. Guy? Yeah, it was like a landslide.
No. It was Josh Bakuga.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Let me put you on the spot, Taylor, here. I don't mean to.
But he does.
But, Frank Jenga Janisch, which I don't know where that name comes from, but it's it's way better than Stat.
There's a story, but
there's a story, yeah.
We'll tell that on After Rundown.
Okay, yeah. After Schmoedown. We'll talk about it. But Brad Hot Lips Gilmore, that's a pretty tough one. But I'm going to be honest here, Taylor. I think Frank Jenga Janisch would be a better wingman than Brad Hot Lips Gilmore. Because if you think about the characters here, Hot Lips Gilmore sounds like the lead, right, Frank? Like you would kind of play my sidekick, would you not say? Jenga sounds like a sidekick. I'm just putting it out there.
I would just pull it out right from underneath you, like Jenga. Just whatever you think you're about to do,
Jenga,
I just pull it right out from underneath you.
See, Jenga sounds like a very sneaky name. Like he would he would sneak in there and just kind of catch you by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree. I actually voted for Frank Jenga Janisch.
You didn't.
Hey,
you voted for yourself. You voted for yourself.
Well, you voted for yourself, so.
I didn't even vote at all.
You didn't vote at all?
Nope. Impartial.
Why would you not vote? Okay, whatever, Frank. Frank, we spent too much time on it.
All right.
All right? Let's move along. We had three matches this week.
Good.
Why don't we start off with them? You want to talk about some Schmoedown, Frank? Is that what we're here to do?
Amongst other things.
Amongst what? Frank, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, this show has had a rotating cast of characters. I think it's no secret to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Don't enter my crosshairs, Frank. Don't do it. I don't want to have any beef with you, Frank. I like you. You're cool. You're Midwestern. You got that kind of Midwestern vibe. You elongate your A sounds. It's all nice and endearing and charming. So let's not get into it, okay? Let's not do this.
All right, fine. Whatever.
Okay. Can we move along? Is that fine?
I guess.
Okay.
That's what you want to do. We can do that.
Okay, Frank, you're making this real awkward here. Let's talk about the first match of the week. Let's talk about the Innergeekdom Fatal 5-Way match. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to be the first of 2 Fatal 5-Way matches, and then the winner of those 2 matches, the 2 winners will face each other, and the winner of that will get a shot at Jason Justice Inman, who, by the way, is in my fantasy team. So he's sitting real pretty right now. But this was an interesting concept. I mean, you're kind of having to go through the gauntlet to determine the number one contender for the championship. Taylor Robinson, let me throw it to you first. Did you like this idea of 2 fatal 5-way matches, then the singles, the 2 winners face, and then boom, we get to Inman?
I do. I actually really like this format that they're using a lot because it really gives them a way to introduce us to new competitors and also include competitors that we've seen before in the league and see where the skill level of everyone stands. And then whoever comes out on top of those groups of the 10 people overall get to face each other. And then they have the tall task after that of going after Inman and really showing what they've got. So I really think that it's a fun format, and I think that it's really a great way to build up the competitors we have for Innergeekdom.
I agree with all those points that you just made. Now, Frank, before I throw it to you, Taylor, you're, correct me if I'm wrong, going to be getting into the Schmoedown ring. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So, and I heard you kind of have a fondness for these kind of matches, right? These kind of Innergeekdom-ish matches, right?
They tend to be my favorite, yes.
They tend to be your favorite. So, when you were watching this match, let's just talk preliminarily here. If I said that word correct, I don't know if I did. Let's
Probably
talk
not.
about. Okay, thanks, Frank. You're supposed to have your co-host back. All right. Anyway.
All right, turn around.
Anyway. Oh, pause. Anyway. Moving along. Taylor, on you. What is your want to get into the Schmoedown ring? I mean, you're obviously a fan. You've been a reactor. You've been a part of the community. Why go from fan to competitor?
Well, honestly, it wasn't really something I thought about until I started going to see the events. Once I started to go in studio and watch this community actually in action and get to meet people and talk to everyone, then it really started to be a desire for me to just be even more a part of this incredible community. And I love movies so much, and Innergeekdom is, like I said, tends to be my favorite. So when I play along at home and I do my reactions, I tend to feel like I'm pretty good at what I do. So why not try it out at least and see? Maybe I could be great at it. Maybe I'll be terrible, but I got to find out, right?
You got to find out, and I think that it takes a lot. Now, if the people who are subscribed to the Patreon, you saw some behind-the-scenes footage this week. If you have the $5 tier, where Frank and I made a pretty big announcement about #RundownBoys. But when it comes to Taylor, something that has been announced officially out there, I don't know. I mean, are the nerves getting to you a little bit? Do you feel the jitters, or you think you're gonna? Have you been doing your studying? Have you been doing your research?
I have been very nervous, very, very nervous. When this first Fatal 5-Way got posted, I was like, I don't even know if I want to watch this. I'm so nervous, and it was hard. I had to take a couple deep breaths and really just remind myself that I know what I know, and it's supposed to be fun. And I have been rewatching a couple movies here and there, but for the most part, it's gonna come down to what I know already and what I love already. So it's gonna be fun either way. That's what I got to keep telling myself.
Hey, well, we're looking forward to it. But let's get back onto the subject. The original question I asked: were you scouting any potential competitors here?
I was a little bit. I was checking out to see who possible future opponents could be. And there's a lot of great new contenders coming into the Schmoedown. I'm very, very excited for the potential of possibly facing some of these people in the future.
Let's talk about that, Frank. There's an influx, especially in this match, of new competitors in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Obviously, Jan Drew had been a part of the Innergeekdom League before, but we got introduced to several new people, including a guy who you and I were schooled on unmercifully, in Mike Carlson. Talk about some of the new competitors, Frank. Who are they, and which of them stood out to you?
Yeah, so we had Mark Donica, Keaton Markey, and Mr. Botanicus himself, Mike Carlson. We obviously knew Coy, and then Adam Klavick previously was in the Schmoedown, not Innergeekdom though. But Mark Donica didn't know. I don't know a whole lot about these people, except for getting schooled on Mike Carlson that he was great on movie fights.
Movie fights, yeah.
So we were made aware of who Mike Carlson was, and
we were made more than aware.
Keaton Markey has a different personality than I think we've seen before in the Schmoedown. It's very unique. It's very lively. Usually when people are giving their promos, they're very, I'm going to crush this person and I'm coming for the belt. And Keaton was just happy to be there, happy to compete, happy to, have fun with this match. And so it was a very different, not very different, but it was just something that we haven't seen in a while from other competitors take this kind of approach. Mark Donica was like, I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff, it's all in here already. Just give me the questions. And Mike Carlson, I don't know, he was also very kind of just somewhat of an enigma, kind of laid back, not very, in your face, just very subtle. He's a very funny guy as well. And then Coy, we know about, and Adam. If you haven't remembered Adam, he was Superhero News, then that got broken up, but now he's back in Innergeekdom because there's a whole big thing between Hector and Adam now because Hector went with Schnepp. It's a whole big thing. I can't wait to see what comes of that because Adam was talking about it in his promo. He's got some he was having a problem with his former partner Hector, so we'll see what happens with that. Three new faces in the Innergeekdom, or 4 new faces in the Innergeekdom, and this is the start of the new faces in the Schmoedown this year, and I thought they were all very good in their own right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of the standouts, ironically, because we didn't know who he was prior, you and I, the answer man, Mike Carlson. I just from his promos, I liked it. We're going to get into promos here in a second. Taylor, which of these competitors, the new ones, stood out to you the most?
For me, as soon as I saw Keaton Markey pop up, it was just like I was glued to the screen. She brought such a positive, amazing energy to the whole match, and she was so genuine and so sincere through the entire thing, and she is really someone that I really hope we see more of. I basically fell in love with her immediately, so that was great. But it was also really great to see Adam back. I've been a fan of his for a while, and I watched him do his stuff on Hyper RPG and everything, so I really hope we see him back in Innergeekdom. And I loved all the new competitors. I really am a little unsure about Donica because if he joins the Lion's Den, I'm not going to be able to support that.
Well, yeah, we know you're the all-American baby face there, Taylor, and I understand the Lion's Den is hated by many, but sometimes they're so good. I mean, they're so bad they're good is what I meant to say there. Frank, let's talk about the story. One of the stories of this match before we start breaking it down real quick. Let's talk about Coy Jandreau. You're the stat guy. Last time we saw Coy Jandreau, I believe it wasn't the greatest performance in Movie Trivia Schmoedown history. So you would think that he was going to come into this to try everything he could to not repeat that. What did you think about Coy Jandreau going into this Innergeekdom match?
I really didn't know. But I was leaning towards it's not going to be that good. I'm sorry. Lifetime between 2 appearances in the Innergeekdom, he's answering close to 41%. That's pretty bad. I mean, his last match, He answered 6 correct questions out of 17 he was asked. Wow. He's 0 for 3 in steals. He had only amassed 27 points in 2 appearances out of a possible 70 that were available to him. So not looking real good, and as we get into this match, we'll see just how that transferred over to this match. Not good.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. While I got you here, Frank, any of these entrances stand out to you? Obviously, for me, Mike Carlson's promo stood out, but any of these entrances stand out to you?
I mean, I did like Keaton's She came out with a sonic screwdriver, and she was dressed up Star Wars, and she's a Harry Potter fan, and so hers was the most. Well, actually, I did enjoy Coy's coming out like he's a boxer with a robe and showing off the guns. I mean, he was having some fun out there, and I think those two for me. And well, Mike, he had the best prop of all time, a Taco Bell cup, so you can't go wrong there.
You can go wrong there very, very easily when it comes to Taco Bell. Of course, I liked the reference to good old Diesel. And Mark Ellis thought that was a reference to Andrew Dice Clay, Ken Knapsack.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I thought he was talking about Andrew Dice Clay. No, he's talking about Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Diesel. Taylor, any of these entrances stand out to you?
I really liked Carlson's entrance just because it gave us exactly what we were going to see from him attitude-wise for the whole rest of the match. We saw his persona right away of what we were going to get from him. And I did also enjoy Keaton's because she had the upbeat Disney music, she had the sonic screwdriver, and she had the Mickey ears. She was just so excited and ready to go.
Yeah, her personality came through, like you said, Taylor, and she was very infectious, but I just enjoyed Mike Carlson this whole time. In reality wrestling, the wrestling show I do at Booker T in Houston, I get to play the heel on TV, and sometimes when you just do it the right way, and it's so good, you can't help but like those guys. And Mike Carlson was just like, I didn't have anything else to do. I decided to come here and kick some ass, take some names, chew some bubble gum, eat some Taco Bell. I don't have a lot to do here, so I'm just going to come through real quick, hit you with that nice step back 3, and get the hell out of here. So let's talk about round numero uno. An interesting round overall as I pull up the stat sheet here. We ended with 7-7, 4-6-5. Markey not doing so well, only 4 points in that first round. Jandrew with 5, so he wasn't setting the world on fire by any means. Frank, let me throw it to you. What did you think about Markey only getting 4 points?
Well, when you go 0 for 2 in your first 2 questions, it's not a great sign. Not a great sign, but she did bounce back. And she did, towards the middle of the round, she did kind of pick it up again, but then dropped off at the end of the round. So it looked like, she was getting some Lord of the Rings questions, DC, the MCU. Missed a Star Wars question, which just hurts me every time someone misses a Star Wars question. But
it's like Roca saying Fruit of the Looms for me. It's just, it's a stab in the heart.
Of course, I don't expect everyone to know the answers to every Star Wars question, but, I mean, come on.
Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Taylor, what'd you think? Who stood out to you in round number 1? I mean, Marquis, only 4 points. Jandrew, not that far behind, but 5. Not great starts for this Fatal 5-Way for either competitor. But what stood out to you?
Well, I mean, it kind of did stand out to me that she wasn't doing so well in that first round, but it stood out to me because she said it herself that those lights were really getting to her, and you could tell that she was not comfortable at all with her environment, which is understandable because I've been there once before, not competing, but I've stood under those lights before, and it can really get to you if it's not something that you're used to, especially with an environment that has that much pressure on you to score points and remember all of this trivia. So it stood out to me that once she gets more experience under those lights, I think she'll do a lot better. And it also stood out to me that, once again, Coy was not getting those points, and it's really tough to see him keep coming back to compete and just falling short in that first round.
And let me just point out real quick about Markey. For someone who's new to the Schmoedown format and the rules, she really did take advantage of everything she could in the match. She had a repeat. She used 2 repeats in the first round. and she was 1 for 2 on those attempts using the repeats. Use it on the MCU question, the 7th question, and the 9th question, the Star Trek question. So it worked for her, and then it didn't work for her. She seems to have a pretty good grasp on how the game is played, which is very important. But as Taylor said, the lights, she admitted the lights were getting to her. She admitted it right in front of everybody. And she, was wearing her heart on her sleeve during this match. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitated towards Keaton in this match. Very genuine. And I just think once she gets more acclimated to the atmosphere there, hopefully I think we see some big things from Keaton, but time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, I understand being under the bright lights. Hell, I just had to take my jacket off because this light is a little too much for me right now. But it's one of those things. It's adaptation. It's what we talked about with John Roca, talking about being at the live show. You have to adapt to your environment, and a good Schmoedown player can do that. And we saw she picked up a little steam going forward. And you could tell after that round 1, she's like, okay, I get what's going on here. Let me settle down. Let me compose myself. Let me go into round 2. But let's talk about Adam and Donica both getting 7 points. What did you think, Frank?
Yeah, this really did show who the match was really between. I think after the first round, they're both tied at 7. I think everyone knew this was the 2-horse race right here. And Adam got the Hobbit question wrong, but Donica got it right.
Yeah.
Then Adam got the Lord of the Rings question wrong. Donica got it right. But Donica got the Marvel question wrong, but Adam got it right. So they're trading these jabs. Adam gets the Star Wars question right. Donica gets it wrong. So there's not a whole lot of overlap, it seems like. And this is the first round, so they're kind of trading blows here back and forth. And it got even more interesting in the second round.
Yeah, it definitely get more interesting in the second round. Real quick, Taylor Robinson, anything about Adam, anything about Donica in this first round that stuck out to you?
It really gave good perspective on what the rest of the match was going to look like. Frank just said, I partially knew what to expect from Adam because I spend a lot of time watching him talk movies on the channel that he's on, so I kind of know where his knowledge is at, and we have seen him compete before. But with Donica, it was really kind of an introduction to, okay, it's really him that is going to be up against Adam here to kind of decide who's gonna come out with the win. It's going to be between these two, and it was a good introduction to what his knowledge looks like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So let's move on to that round number 2 that you talked about, Frank Janisch. Round number 2 got way more interesting as I pull up the stats here. It looks like we had an additional 8 points by Adam. We had an additional 9 points by Donica. Markey, an additional 6 points. Carlson, 7. And Jandrew, 2, which gives him a total of 7 points after 2 rounds. Coy Jandrew continues, unfortunately, to be a topic of conversation for me because after his last performance, you would think I'm coming back. I'm better than I've ever been. I've studied up. I'm ready to take this Innergeekdom League by storm. I'm going to redeem myself for that last performance. 7 points after 2 rounds, Frank.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable for a guy who did win somehow. Well, I know how. It was very fluky, if you ask me. He won an Innergeekdom match. So, he's not using repeats. He's giving away, 2 points. And one. So it's like, all right, I know he's trying to, probably play some catch up. But at the same time, you kind of want to keep yourself in it and making things interesting because you never know what can happen throughout the rest of the round. I mean, he won 3rd, so there's still 2 people behind him, and as soon as his turn was done, that was really it. And, just super disappointing in Coy. I mean, yeah, he specializes in MCU, so he was proud that he got those questions right. But we'll talk about Coy.
Let me cut you off there for a second. I know he specializes in MCU, but this is Innergeekdom, guys. This is what we got to remember. Growing up, go back to pro wrestling. I'm a WWF guy. I'm a WWE guy. But just because that was my brand of choice didn't mean I didn't know what was going on in WCW or ECW. Just because I like to drink Coca-Cola doesn't mean I've never tried Pepsi or Sierra Mist. You know, I mean, you got to diversify a little bit. You at least have a knowledge base about a couple more subjects. You can have your specialty. If you're going to compete in Innergeekdom, you got to have a little, pockets of information across all of these potential categories and subjects. Taylor Robinson, I throw it to you. We also saw Marquis she got Spinner's Choice, went with Harry Potter, did well for getting 6 points there, Taylor. So I know that's who you were pulling for. Were you happy to see her in this position?
I was really excited to see her get comfortable, it seemed like, at least enough to focus to pull these answers. And I think it really did help her and her confidence to get Spinner's Choice and to be able to kind of choose her own destiny there of where she wanted to go, and then be able to cushion her score a little bit by getting a category that she was comfortable with and doing so well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was something she needed. She needed this to stay in the game. She needed to stay on the hunt, and she definitely played out well. But let's go back to Donica, man. Whoo, brother. Scoring an additional 9 points in this round. Taylor, let me throw it back to you. I mean, his dominance continued. Were you surprised at all?
I can't say that I was, because right from the get-go in that first round, he showed that he's confident and he knows his stuff. And so going into the second round, to see him have that same kind of dominance was not surprising at all. And it's really a great debut for him, showing this kind of strength in all of these different categories.
Absolutely. This was a continuing dominance, Frank Janisch. But let's not forget Adam, though. He got the DCEU, an additional 8 points. I mean, it was just it was like, I'm trying to remember. It's like Robbie Lawler and what was the Red King's name in the UFC? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Roy McDonald. I don't know if you ever saw that fight, anybody out there, but these two stood in the middle of the ring for 5 rounds, and they just pounded the hell out of each other. And neither one of them was taking a step back, and that's what this was between Adam and Donica. Frank, I mean, let's talk about it. DCEU Films getting 8 points. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and that's aided by the 3 points he got on the steals. So when you talk
8 points in the round, yes,
right, okay. Total. Mm-hmm. When you talk about Donica and when you talk about Glavik, you got to talk about them both at the same time here, because again, I keep going back. It's this 2-horse race, and then they were neck and neck on these steals, and then they get to the final steal attempt from Mike Carlson, and Donica gets it, but Adam misses it, and that was the point that puts Donica ahead of Adam. And it was, you were just waiting to see who would blink first. And going back to their respective rounds, DCEU and Harry Potter, Donica, he gets his first 2 correct for the full 2 points, multiple choice on the third, and he gets it correct. Adam, though, right after Mark had gone, he has to go to multiple choice on the first question, and I thought he handled the pressure well. Of if he wanted to keep pace with Donica, he needed to not go to multiple choice the final 2 questions. That's what he did. So that's a major point, major check for him, that he handled the pressure well. He's trying to keep pace with Donica, who just went ahead of him, had a great round. And then while they get to the steal opportunities, it's, you got to keep pace with each other again. So I thought it was such an interesting match in the sense between Adam and Mark Donica. So I loved watching these two go at it, because you felt like really whoever was going to miss first was probably, going to lose to the other one. So, and ultimately, that's what pretty much happened here.
It is what happened. And I guess without further ado, let's get to round number 3 there. Man, my guy, Coy Jandreau. I say my guy, but I don't mean that. I don't mean that like I mean it with Jay Washington. I mean, this is like my guy. What's going on, man? What's going on, man? 7 points. He didn't get anything. This total of 7 points in the round. Nearly half. I mean, of what Marquis got. I mean, Marquis under the bright lights got 13 points. We saw Mike Carlson, who was real hyped to us, Frank, once again, who I do enjoy, getting 15 points, but it came down. It was either Donica, it was Adam. Was it Donica? Was it Adam? And Donica got it, man, winning the match 21 points, and Adam was right there with 20 points. You know, Coy Jandrew can go home feeling pretty down about himself. I kind of crapped the bed here on this one. But I think the guy who feels the worst is my man Adam. 20 points. You came so close. You have fought a great fight. And then 1 point shy of at least tying, 2 points shy of a victory here. Frank Janisch, back to you. And then, Taylor, I'm going to get to you. But Frank Janisch, what did you think about this round number 3?
So, Coy, he needed all 3 questions to stay in the game. And then, nope, gets the first one wrong, and that was that. And then we head over to Marky, and, you know, she misses her DC question, gets to Harry Potter, gets it right. And then, you know, we go to Mike Carlson, and he gets his 2-pointer, Back to Future. That was for you.
Hey!
But I just want to finish up on Carlson's round here because he gets scores and soundtracks, which is basically a Star Trek question for his 3-pointer, and then his 5-pointer is also a Star Trek question. I thought both were fairly difficult, especially if you don't know Star Trek. That last Star Trek question, he got what is Spock's mother's name? I believe that's what it was. That's tough, and he gets 15 points here at the end of the day, and I think if he didn't get so, I guess you could say, shafted with 2 Star Trek questions back to back, he could have made things a lot more interesting. And I think going forward in the Innergeekdom, he will make things very interesting. I don't think maybe he was hyped up a little bit too much by his supporters, but I still think, you know, do not discount Mike Carlson going forward. Do not forget about him. Do not take him lightly. That would be my advice if I were playing in the Innergeekdom. But then Adam and Donica. Adam, this Hobbit question, name, what was it, 4 of the bajillion whatever, and he just started throwing out Star Trek or Star Wars character names, and he was just like, forget, I don't know. Luke Skywalker, it had nothing to do. It sucks that he got that kind of a question because clearly he has a little bit of trouble with Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Middle Earth.
Yeah.
He has trouble there, and it came back to bite him at the worst time in a 5-pointer, so we don't even get to see what Mark Donica would have got. He got both his 2- and 3-pointer right, so he didn't really have to feel as much pressure as Adam did, but that's because Donica kind of, you know, he took that lead in the second round, getting the steal opportunity correct as opposed to Adam getting incorrect, so he did earn it in that sense, if you ask me, so it was a well-earned victory from Donica, so I cannot wait to see, hopefully, if things turn out a certain way, once again down the road, somewhere down later in the year, we get Adam and Donica on a head-to-head match. That would be fun to watch. But, you know, Mark Donica, guy's good, and he played the part in this match.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He played his part real well. Let me throw it over to you, Taylor. What were your overall thoughts about round number 5, about Donica's win, and how do you feel about your pending debut after seeing such a great Innergeekdom match?
So this round was a little tough to watch all around because watching Coy get that first question wrong, it's hard. It's hard because he's competed so many times, and to just see him come up short is heartbreaking a little bit. And then what's even more heartbreaking is to watch Keaton almost get there, where she gets that last question and she knows it, but she misspeaks and gets it wrong. That was hard.
So that's
because she knew it.
Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, Taylor, but we need to talk about this because she knows. What was it? The 2 Deathly Hallows, was that?
Yeah.
Am I thinking of the right? Right. So she names. What do you call it? She names 2, but she What did she have? She ended
knew
up
the Elder Wand.
right, but she
and
didn't
then
say it. Yeah, in her initial answer.
Right. Well,
And
she
so-
said Elder Wand, but she didn't say the Cloak of Invisibility. But she knew that one.
Right, and so
Yeah.
it was one of the most heartbreaking challenges to a lost in a challenge that I've seen. It's someone who
Yeah, that's a rough one.
She's someone who unintentionally or intentionally, or whatever, however you want to look at it, gave a wrong answer, even though she knew the other parts of the answer. It didn't come out in the right order to save her in the end, and it's unfortunate because she would have. It killed me. It killed me to watch that, and I feel your pain, Taylor.
Yeah, so that was really hard for me to watch because she absolutely knew that answer. And as someone who also loves Harry Potter so much, like I could just feel her pain with that one. And then once again, more heartbreak watching Adam get that last question and just the look on his face of, I'm not even going to try to answer it. Like he didn't even try to guess. Like there was no actual attempt at even trying to get it right, which hurt a little bit. Like I was like, come on, Adam, just throw out like a guess of some kind, like a real guess. But yeah, in the end, I mean, Danica is someone to absolutely not mess with. He made such a strong debut and just took this entire match by storm. And I can't wait to see what he does in this league in the future.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jason Justice Inman, I'm looking like, ooh, man, that's a tall order. And at this point, we haven't seen, obviously, the other Fatal Five-Way yet, but at this point, Danica's got to be going in there. He's got to be the favorite right now. I think he's got to be the favorite. And let me ask you this, Taylor. If next Friday was Jason Inman and Danica, who would you put your money in?
Ooh, that's a tough question because Jason Inman has proved that he is incredible when it comes to Innergeekdom knowledge. Danica had such a strong debut that we just saw, but we've only seen him in one match, so it's harder to gauge what his weaknesses are. But if I had to put my money on someone right now, I would put it on Inman. I would say that Inman keeps it.
Hey, for the sake of my fantasy team, I hope Jason Inman has it too. I'm a little bit nervous about Danica here, Frank Janisch, but I think this was an awesome way to kick off the Innergeekdom division for the season. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we got 3 brand new competitors in the Schmoedown itself. And I liked all 3 of these people, and they're all very different.
Yeah, and they all their distinct personality and their distinct skill set. But continue.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that they're all very different. I cannot wait to see where they end up in the league in terms of storylines, factions, all their big-time matches in Innergeekdom or otherwise. I would love to see all 3, all of them. Well, I don't know about Coy. I don't want to pick on the guy because the guy only answered 40%.
This is how I felt about that Kalinowski meltdown in the triple threat. It's like,
but see, Kalinowski, we know he's good. Coy's never shown he's better than 45%. So,
can I see Coy Jandrew versus Bobby Gucci in a match? Can we see that happen?
Sure.
I'd like to see. It could almost be like a slow bicycle race. You know what I'm saying? It's like who can finish with the least amount of points is the winner. We'll see. But anyway, that popped Chris, the producer, so I always love that. Let's move on. So we had 3 matches this week. Real quick, any final thoughts, either one of you, on this Innergeekdom match before we move forward?
Well, I just want to talk about. Look, we all know that the exit interviews, the post-match interviews, they looked a little weird. But what's even more weird is how ridiculously tall these people are, especially Mark Danica. That man looked like 7 feet tall next to Jen Sturger. I know Jen Sturger was a little shorter, but holy crap. It was comical. I mean, especially with the overlaying graphic, Jen Sturger is literally just above the graphic. Mark Danica's head is nearly through my screen. I could not believe the height difference that was between those two. Completely, it was all I could concentrate on. I didn't even hear anything he said, really, except for when the Lions Den, Jeff Sneider, and in Finstock, Bobby Gucci, rather, crashed the interview. And I did love that Jen was kind of jabbing with Finstock, or Bobby Gucci. And he's really got nothing. He's got nothing to say, to come back, rather, to Jen. She's too quick for him. And I look forward more and more to their interactions throughout this season.
Yeah, great to see Jen Sturger back. Also on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, we should make mention of that. I do miss the ruggedly handsome man who was doing the interviews for the team match. I don't know what happened to that wildly hot-lipped fellow. But Taylor Robinson, anything about these post-match interviews?
I mean, yeah, I'm with Frank on this one. I was very distracted by the very obvious height difference and poor Jen just barely being above the graphics, because I feel that I'm probably about the same height as Jen. So I was looking at her just like, oh, I feel so bad. But it's always great to see Jen back. I love it when she does the interviews, and she just does so well with handling all the different personalities, and seeing the Lions Den crash something else just doesn't even faze me anymore. They just crash at everything.
I know. And JTE, Bobby Gucci, all of you people, the basketball game, the invitation is still out there for Frank and I, hashtag Rundown Boys. They have to smack us down.
I want to throw this out there. I don't know this to be true.
Taylor.
I don't know this to be true as to why these post-match interviews looked a little different than we saw from the previous weeks. I think it's because, I think they were filming this during the move time for the studio, so maybe things were a little bit out of place, or things weren't available when they could have been normally. So I think maybe that's why we saw the green screen backgrounds as opposed to the backdrop that we got within the first few matches. Now that they're going to be in the new studio going into next week, or the matches will be, coming out with the new studio, it should be interesting to see if we get the green screen again, or we get that backdrop that we got the first couple weeks of the season. So I just throw that out there. Yeah, I know people were talking about it.
Yeah, make mention of it. That's what we're here to do with the hashtag Rundown Boys. And I think with a Z. And without any further ado, let's talk about it, Frank. Let's talk about the celebrity match. You go first. We saw last week Bruce Campbell, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I got some love for my reference to Burn Notice. I did. Thank you for all the people on Twitter that reached out or were fans of Burn Notice as well. What did you think of this celebrity match, Frank?
This match was hilarious from start to finish. If you really want to see all my thoughts and my reaction, go ahead and check out Take 3. I joined them for a reaction. That was a lot of fun. But, man, Bruce Campbell is a legend, man. Ugh. And his back and forth with Dana throughout the match, incredible. I wanted more of that than anything. It was so fun. You can tell they really have this great kind of chemistry, just jabbing back and forth with each other all day long, and I think it showed in this match. Bruce clearly wanted to play in this match. He even blurted out some answers. I know what you did last summer, started naming the answers, and it was and then they kind of fixed it there, or they made do with what they had. I thought it was great. Mark Riley's at the desk with Ellis and Bruce Campbell, man. What can you say? The guy needs to play. I hope he comes back in any shape or form, and he gets to play a match. I said that I would love to see him on the reaction. I said I would like to see him play Lucy Lawless on a one-on-one match, because I think that would just be great. But Bruce, I can't say it more. He's a legend. He's the man. He's the answer, because he was giving away all of those answers, and that's his nickname if he ever comes back to the Schmoedown.
Bruce the Answer Campbell. I like it. Maybe there should be like a special championship in these celebrity matches. Like maybe we should have a celebrity championship. There's a celebrity wing in the WWE Hall of Fame, so maybe there should be a celebrity championship. Before I give any thoughts and Taylor does, I want to bring in someone special. You talk about Take 3. Mr. Janisch. Talk about reaction and reactors. Let me introduce you, our producer of this thing. I want him to weigh on it, Mr. Chris Clark. Chris, what did you think of this match, man?
This is fantastic, and it's great that I can actually talk about something with you guys. This is awesome. I'm all buttery inside. It's fantastic. But look, this
I'm
match,
buttery on the outside.
buttery, delicious. But look,
Oh boy.
this match though proves how much of an asset Whitney is to the entire Schmoedown. Yep, I know. Him and Snap are really good. Like, look. Whitney killed this. His team killed this. The Deadites killed this. But look, it's not just that. Bruce Campbell, as you were saying, is a comedy masterpiece. He's great on the mic. He's a great commentator, and I would love to see a match of Bruce Campbell and somebody, maybe Lucy Lawless, maybe like Danny DeVito or something. And he just
huge pop.
Yep, and he has a match that pretty much he can change the rules on a whim if it doesn't go his way, like he was saying. And I feel like this whole match was so oxymoron. Like, nothing in this match really was structured like a normal Schmoedown, because you get the banter between the contestants and the actual commentators. Like, the banter between Bruce Campbell and everybody was so different than what we're used to in the Schmoedown. It was so different and so enthusiastic, and it brought so much energy to the show that I want to see more of that. Even if that's just the energy for an exhibition match, I would like to see more of this kind of behavior. This whole match just didn't feel like a normal match, but in a very, very good way, and it just was rocking from start to finish, and I loved and Whitney won, so you know what, it makes it the best match so far this year. Loved it.
You know, the energy kind of reminded me what it was like between the cast of the Power Rangers. Very all over the place,
loose.
Very rambunctious.
Yeah.
So very loose. So
Exactly.
It was kind of like that, but you had Bruce, so it's on another level.
It's on another level. Frank and I share a mutual affection for Becky G, but Bruce Campbell is a phenomenal. Thank you for that point. I acknowledge your point, sir, and I know what you mean. But here's what I was thinking. I like the idea of having Bruce involved more. He's obviously great. He's entertaining. He makes anything that you watch. I mean, anything that he's on, you want to watch it. A Bruce Campbell versus Danny DeVito match gave me a huge smile on my face and in my heart. And there should be a special stipulation. They can only do Danny DeVito movies, and I think Bruce Campbell might still win that match.
Please.
Taylor, what do you think of this celebrity match? Just overall thoughts.
Overall, it was so much fun. Just Bruce Campbell, man. Like, what else is there to say? He just brought so much insane energy to this whole match. It was just, I can't even, like, it was so much fun.
It almost leaves you speechless.
Like, it was just such a fun match, and like everyone else has said, it just was so different. And I personally think that Bruce Campbell should just randomly show up always. Like, you don't know he's going to show up, but all of a sudden he's interviewing people for post-match interviews, or all of a sudden he's like bringing out the wheel, or just random Bruce Campbell moments, and the Schmoedown should always happen from now on.
Free for all.
Oh, man.
Last competitor.
I know.
Yes.
Please, yes.
Come on, man.
Fantasy book right now.
Oh my gosh.
Janisch, you're driving me crazy.
I know.
Oh, man.
Just saying, man, that would be iconic. That would be, but it also, I think this is.
But is he the best celebrity? Who's been involved in a commentator or performer role? Is he the best celebrity they've had on?
The guy from what was his name from Celebrity Apprentice? That guy that from American.
Donald Trump?
No.
Matt Eisman?
Matt Eisman. That guy.
Matt Eisman. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was fun.
He was fantastic.
Fun. He was fun. What were you gonna say, Frank?
Yeah, no, I think Bruce has been the best entertainer celebrity they've had in a celebrity match format. Matt Eisman is a great person to bring up. He's great at the desk. He also is a comedian, so I'm sure he is very funny, as we saw in his appearances there. So, Bruce Campbell, Matt Eisman. The Schmoedown in terms of Freddie Prinze Jr. In terms of celebrities, they're getting more and more people into the studio, into these matches, and to a lot of people, Bruce is right at the height of the mountaintop. So This is going to help get a lot more eyes on the Schmoedown, especially with a guy like Bruce and all the history with the Evil Dead franchise and Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's a great show if you have been watching it. I don't even think you need to have seen any of the previous movies to get involved in this show. It's so well written, so fun. It's great. So, like I said, I think going forward, I can't wait to see what other celebrity matches they're going to have this year. Yeah.
You know, Mark Ellis, the first time Booker T appeared on the Schmoedown, said, "Famous people like us." And that's a statement that's continuing to prove to be true. And I just hope that it continues to grow. Just because we don't get to hear from him a lot. Chris Clark, anything else you want to add about this celebrity match? Any final parting thoughts? I know your guy Whitney won. John Schnepp was involved. There's a lot of fun banter. But just anything else that you'd like to see more of? Do you like the idea of Bruce Campbell popping in here and there just for random little things?
I think we should just see Bruce Campbell just on more. His chemistry between all of the commentators, between the cast itself, and he just fits the personality of the show. Just seeing him more often, if you can and if you can afford him, do it, because he is a good get, and B, he brings some energy. He brings a lot of energy, and it's energy that really, after moving forward, I kind of want to see Bruce again, and you don't want to keep the audience waiting. I would love to see him again. That's my take. Just we want to see him rock another stage. It would be great.
We should.
Hey, talk about rocking another stage. You know, there is a live show in Los Angeles, California coming up, and you know,
hey, you never know.
Just saying, if Christian's listening, Thad, whomever the decision maker may be,
we should make a tier on the Patreon, and it's all about pay Bruce Campbell to come on the Schmoedown. Pay this tier, and so we can get him to the studio. Just one tier, just for him. That's like
that is a great thing. We'll take care of his meal for the night, his rider,
exactly.
Whatever he may need. Okay, well, if you haven't watched the celebrity match, it's a whole lot of fun. You're gonna enjoy it. Bruce Campbell. Did we say Bruce Campbell in this match? Because it was phenomenal. Let's get to our third match, though. This is a big one. This was a big one. And you know, top 10 versus top that was an early favorite of mine. Like, what a great match, right? On paper. And then you saw Kalinowski, JTE, Rachel Cushing. That was the season opener. And you're like, God, what another heavy match on paper. And then you see...
Weight's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, weight's got nothing to do with it. Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? Then you get to this one. Jeff, the Insider Snyder, versus Baby Carrots Ellis.
Yum.
This is a big match, Taylor Robinson. I mean, when you saw this was going to be the Friday match for this week in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, what was your initial reaction?
Well, my initial reaction was that I was excited to see Ellis back after seeing him leave so early out of the competition last year. Like, we only saw him in the singles tournament very briefly. So I was excited to see him back and see what he was going to do. But to pair him with Snyder is interesting because they're both kind of at a point where they need to kind of get back on track. I feel like they're both in that weird spot of not quite performing how they want to.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Jeff Sneider obviously beating Drew McQueenie, which was a major upset last year. And then even that winning over him continued in the spectacular in teams against Above the Line in that incredible win by the Patriots. Frank Janisch, Mark Ellis is an interesting topic that Taylor Robinson brings up because we saw him kind of come and go in that match against Stacey Howard in the singles tournament. Didn't really set the world on fire in 2017. I believe he had a match with
Clark
Wolf, right?
Yeah.
And those are the ones I'm really recalling. I'm sure there was another one that I'm just not thinking of right now. But the return of Baby Carrots. What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, he's coming into this match on a 3-game slide. He lost to Merle way back in the first spectacular. Didn't show up till late or middle of last year against Clark Wolf, lost that one. Then he loses to Stacey Howard in the first round of the tournament last year. And so he's on a 3-game losing streak, and he's not performing terribly bad, but just not good enough against his competition who get on these rolls or are just slightly better than him. But coming into this match, it's a huge match. First of all, you're on a 3-game losing streak. You're going up against a guy in Jeff Sneider who is gunning for a title. He's got the same record as you. They're both 5-4. Whoever loses this is going to be a 500 player. It's hard to believe that any of these guys would be in that position. So
some of that though comes from playing more games than others, right? I mean, Mark Ellis has been in there he's had a lot of matches.
I would give the edge to Snyder because he was more consistent within the league last year, even though it was mostly teams. And Mark Ellis, again, he only played 2 matches last year. He's only played in 3 over the past 2 years. That's not a lot of consistency there. Yeah, he's at the desk a lot, and he's around the game a lot, so there is familiarity. He's no stranger to this. The guy's a stand-up comedian. The bright lights and all that stuff. It really comes down to just not knowing the answers when he needed to in those past matches. And, I was curious to see if he would rectify his past woes in this match.
I also think that I think the momentum was on the side of Jeff Sneider going into this match. Now, I know Mark Ellis made a lot of comments about, it's cool what you did in teams. It's cool what you did as a team. It's cool what you did as a team. I'm an MVP. I'm a single standout. I am baby carrots. And I don't know. I felt like that trash talk from Mark Ellis was somewhat disingenuous because I still feel that Jeff Sneider had a phenomenal 2017 in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I do. I mean, maybe as singles competitor, was he as great as a team? Absolutely not. But you cannot look past his team accomplishments, and that should not belittle him as a player, which I felt like Mark Ellis did a little bit. And when you talk about losing 3 in a row, when you're in the UFC and you lose 3 in a row, you're not getting a 4th match. If you're a head coach of a football team and you've lost 3 of your last games, 3 out of 3 of your last games you lost, you might get a little tight when it comes to looking at the personnel changes for the year. So I don't know why he's sitting all high and mighty. And I love Baby Carrots. I love the character. I just thought that he was kind of coming off as, I don't know, Taylor. I kind of thought he was coming off as a little arrogant in these promos.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. He was definitely coming off as arrogant in a little bit, and I think a little too arrogant for someone who has lost the last 3 matches that he's played, especially going up against Snyder, who, as you said, performed very well in singles, not as well as he wanted, but very well, and then also had all of his team accomplishments. So it didn't quite have the effect that I think he wanted it to.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It just, I don't know, Frank. I mean, am I out of turn? Did you not feel that too?
I can see where you're coming from. I just felt like he was trying to downplay the fact that I think he felt like he could lose to Snyder, that he was going to lose to Snyder, and I think the arrogance came off because I think he was joking about it, and he was trying to have fun with it, and I think it came across as arrogance. So I think he kind of tried to fight fire with fire in a sense, and it wasn't a good look in the end.
Yeah, definitely not. So let's get into some of it here. Interesting stat that I'm looking at, Frank, and maybe you could talk about this a little bit. These men, when it comes to their lifetime average, are nearly identical. I mean, Snyder was 69.39%. I'm assuming questions answered correct. And then Mark Ellis, 68.49%. I mean, we're talking about a percentage difference between their accuracy ratings. I know Snyder was the favorite going into this match. Interesting to me, the statistics here, these guys, when you talk about it, I mean, whoever lost is a 500 player. On paper, they're pretty even.
Yeah, this is what made the match so interesting. On paper, you're right. They're near 70% correct, which puts them in one of the upper echelons, not the top tier, but like just below the elite. They're in the very good range. 70%. If you're answering 70% of your questions a couple years ago, you were in the elite status. But the game has evolved and changed, and players have gotten better. So now you need to be like 73, 74, 75% to be in the elite status. 70, you're just at the very good level. And both of these players are very good, despite Ellis on a 3-game losing streak and Sneider not having the kind of year that he wish he had, last year. He wish he had a better year last year, bowing out to JTE in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament last year. So yeah, on paper, very interesting matchup. And this matchup made all the sense in the world when you look at their numbers and you look at their ranked. Sneider came in at ranked number 5. Ellis came in ranked number 7. So whoever was going to win this match was gonna vault them up near the top of the rankings, and get them in tight contention for a title shot. Going into Collision and further on, or up to Collision, really, I guess.
Real quick, before we talk about entrances or we get into the round by round, just because we had him here saying Chris Clark, who did you think had the advantage going into this match?
For me, well, look at this. You have Jeff Sneider, who he's on Team Patriots. I can say how much I don't like the Patriots till the end of time. He's on an undefeated team, and he's defeated Drew McQueenie. And he's had so many surprising upsets. And you look at Ellis, and his most recent match, he was KO'd. He lost to not KO'd. He lost to Stacey Howard, and I mean Stacey Howard that was an upset, and I don't think Jeff has really lost in an upset like Ellis had. And Jeff's always been solid in teams. He's undefeated, for Christ's sake. So look, I feel like going into it was Jeff all the way through, and it was actually Ellis's game to win and Jeff's game to lose, and that was it. Bada bing, bada boom. I mean, as much as I wanted Ellis to win, Jeff, I knew deep down probably had it.
Okay, well, stick around, Chris Clark, because I want to throw to you for a couple more things during this match. Appreciate your input. As always, the super producer himself, Christopher Clark. Let's talk about round number 1. Oh, actually, real quick, entrances. Let's talk about entrances first. Taylor Robinson, anything stand out to you about these entrances?
Yeah, I was not expecting an entrance like that from Mark Ellis at all. I loved it. It was awesome because I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. I love musicals and that kind of music. And it was a very lively entrance from Mark Ellis that I just did not see coming. And I loved it a lot, actually.
Frank Janisch, same question to you.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it. Ellis, it was okay. It wasn't. He put on a vest and put some dirt on his face, and he pretended like he was from the 1800s, which, I mean, in the end, when he's answering these questions, was pretty apt.
Shot.
It's a little unfair because he did play fairly well. But I mean, hey, he was playing into it as well. So
how you, Frank Janisch, besmirch the good name of Baby Carrots?
He's besmirched it himself. He's lost 4 in a row.
First of all, this is a family show. I don't want to hear any kind of that talk of anybody besmirching themselves. That sounds I don't like it, Frank Janisch. But my point is, you do not talk negatively about Baby Carrots. You're talking about a founding member. Huh?
Then he shouldn't play negatively and lose. I don't want to have to.
Frank, I talked to you about this a second ago, and I thought we were past it.
All right.
What I see, rotating door.
We can move on now. We can move on.
You know what I'm saying? I like you, Frank. I like you. I would like for you to stay. But,
I didn't say I was leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Are you?
I'm not saying I'm going anywhere. But you keep this talk up, Frank. Decisions might have to be made.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
And I'm not kidding. Round number 1, we saw both these competitors neck and neck. 75% of the answers correct from Sneider and Ellis. That's thanks to Frank, unfortunately. He gave me this stat sheet. 6 correct answers correct. 6 points apiece. Taylor Robinson, this first round, your reaction?
It it was a little bit of a moment of worry for me right off the bat, because Ellis missing that first question, I wasn't sure how it was going to go from that point, because lately when competitors have been missing their first question or their first and second question, it's hard for them to come back from that. So I was very pleased when that wasn't just a downhill round for Mark Ellis after that.
Yeah, especially in action adventure. You know, I would like to think a category that he is, I mean, strong in. You never know what's going to come in action adventure. We also saw comedy, horror, thriller, crime, 80s, animated, comic book movies, all categories that both these men pretty much excel at. Frank, any surprises for you? Were you surprised that action adventure, you got that first one wrong?
Yeah, I'm with Taylor on that one. I don't know if I was surprised, but I was like, not a good sign. Not a good sign, because Taylor just spelled it out. You know, you miss your first question or first two questions. Not a good sign. But he did rebound nicely. He went, he answered 6 straight there on out, and is that a phrase, there on out? I don't know what that even means. I don't know. But he answered 6 in a row from that point on. I think that's what I was trying to say. So they ended up tied at 6-6, and that's about as, for players who are evenly matched lifetime, percentage-wise, it makes sense that they'd be tied after 1.
Yeah, it's neck and neck. Animated, obviously Jeff Snyder couldn't get the category. That's not a strong suit for a lot of the competitors of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, which would make you think, like, why not study it just a little bit more? Just throw that out there. Just free game. Let's get into round number 2. Let's talk about Baby Carrots. Mark Ellis first. Getting directors. Seemed pretty confident with that choice. Frank, take it away. What did you think about Mark Ellis's round number 2? I
like the fact that he took directors. Although you could get kind of tricky with what you're going to ask. But for the most part, I think they're going to be fairly straightforward. I mean, it's directors, so it's going to be centered around directors, and they're going to be, I think maybe his thought process would be fairly well-known directors, and he comes away with 4 points here. So he went to multiple choice a couple times, which was interesting. I thought he played a little too safe. I think he could have took a shot here or there. And he didn't get burned on a steal opportunity, a 2-point steal opportunity that he gave up to Jeff. So it was an okay round, getting 4 points, half of the max you could get, the total 8. So not really what you needed to do against a guy like Jeff Sneider, who can go on crazy runs and just erase you from the game altogether. And he's just lucky he didn't get. First of all, he's just lucky he didn't get taken advantage of on that 2-point steal opportunity. So otherwise, this could have been a lot more. It could have been not as close. Yeah.
And when you talk about directors, a lot of times we see the categories such as Steven Spielberg or Quentin Tarantino, or Hitchcock, specific directors. This is more of an umbrella term where anything goes. I think it's a little bit risky because you never know what could come up in a director's category. It's kind of like a mixed bag in a way. I mean, it could be something that, with Spielberg at least, it's like, okay, I have a general knowledge of his movies. With Hitchcock, okay, I know the movies. With Tarantino, he's only got 8. How hard could it be? But with the director's category, it's like, okay, wow, it could be, Kitty Ortega, who directed what's the Halloween movie with Bette Midler, Hocus Pocus, and he directed This Is It. See, that's an obscure director. It's an obscure director.
Yeah.
That's my point. Taylor Robinson, what did you think Mark Ellis getting directors?
I thought it was interesting because it didn't seem like it was really the category he wanted to go with, but he took it because he saw the wheel and didn't really like most of his other options that he could have landed on. So going into it, I was a little nervous because he didn't really seem like he was too fond of the category. But and then it also worried me that he gave Snyder that opportunity to take 2 points from him, because that could have been very devastating if Snyder would have stolen 2 points from him at that point.
Yeah, you could be more correct. And that's a great observation that you made there, because a seasoned Schmoedown competitor like a Mark Ellis will see, okay, directors, I'm okay with it. I'll take it because I'm looking at that wheel and I know what could come up, and I'm not feeling any of that. Let's get into Jeff Schneider. We talk about some of that Patriots magic. I guess they were saving it for this match and not so much the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he ends up getting Spinner's choice.
You're damn right he does. He gets Spinner's choice. You know why? Because he's an American hero.
Yeah.
He's a patriot, damn.
And he ended up going with David Fincher, his boy D. Finch. And I think, yeah, that's a smart category to go with. Very limited filmography, especially if you're a big fan of Fincher, like Snyder is. So it's kind of a no-brainer that he went with it. Yeah. And then he gets 6 points. But then he also commits an error like Ellis did on his turn, where he gives the opportunity for 2 points to be stolen, which could have let Ellis right back in this. And it will, it just it confused me. But Snyder, he's gonna take some chances here, and well, it is what it is. I don't know, these people, they confuse me sometimes what they do.
Yeah, well, we talk about all the time the bright light effect, and the urgency of the moment, right? Sometimes you feel pressured and rushed to make choices and decisions that if you had more time to think about it, you would obviously get the correct answer and make a better decision. I don't know if we've ever talked about it, Frank. Maybe you have on an earlier iteration of the show, but the 5 second, when you get that 5, 4, 3, 2, your mind starts scrambling, and when you know that you're racing against a clock, it can definitely play with your mind there. Let's go to Taylor Robinson. David Fincher films. We know that Snyder's fan. We know that several people, they really like David Fincher. What did you think? This was a smart choice? Obviously, he got Spinner's choices. This was probably the best category he could have gone with.
I do. I think it was a very smart choice because, like it's been discussed, it's very limited. There's not a ton that they're going to pull from in this category. And for Snyder, as someone who is very familiar with Fincher's work, it was, I think, probably one of the best categories he could have picked in this situation to really, pad his score and make sure that he was going to leave round 2 with some points to get ahead of where Ellis was.
Yeah, absolutely. This was his best opportunity, I think, at taking the game over, and I think that's what his goal was here, and really going in there with a 2-point advantage. I believe going into round number 3. That's I don't know. Frank, I would love to know the stat on this, because it seems like going in there with 2 points, it definitely puts you at an advantage, because the other competitor has to hit their number 1 just to break even,
right.
And then they have to hit that that 3, the 3-pointer, to get some sort of a lead. But 2 points, that's I don't think that 1 point you could probably overcome. 2 points, that's a pretty significant lead going into round number 3. I don't think it sounds like it on paper, but it really is.
I think that the 2 points is really not that bad, because you're right. You just need to
can overcome it.
And
you can overcome it, but it's nice to have that 2-point cushion.
Sure, but the real danger is when you're down by 3, because now you have to hit your 2. You have to hit 2 of those questions, the first 2 really, to even put some pressure on your opponent. And so, if you miss, you get your 2-pointer, now you're still down by 1, so you got to go again. So you hit your 3-pointer. Now you're looking pretty good. Now you put the pressure on your opponent. But if you miss that 3-pointer and you're still down by 1, now you automatically got to go to your toughest question in the round, the 5-pointer, and that can put a lot of pressure on yourself to come up with that answer just to stay alive in the match. So I think it depends on how seasoned you are in the league and how you're able to handle that kind of swing.
Well, what did you feel, Frank, going into this one, going into round number 3? Who were you leaning toward at this point?
Yeah, I was definitely leaning towards Snyder, and I talked about this on the stat segment. Mark Ellis, he's been pretty dreadful in his 5-pointer his past few matches. His past 3 matches, he has not hit the 5-pointer when he's had the opportunity. So if he got to that point, I wasn't terribly confident that he could pull it out. And lo and behold, that's kind of what happened here.
Chris Clark, unmute yourself, my good brother. I want to talk to you. Going into round number 3, after you saw the first 2 rounds, were you still saying, "Yeah, my prediction is correct. Snyder's got this"?
Look, I mean, Ellis had pretty much an uphill battle from the moment he pressed go. Like he missed the first question. That kind of a bad luck charm. Going into this third round, it was still competitive, and you never know what's going to happen in this third round. But I just felt something. I just felt something when he started answering those questions in the third round. Ellis, I just felt like, I don't think he has this, and it broke my heart because I love Ellis. I think we all love Ellis. It's just that I don't feel like his head was in the game as much as it was for Jeff, and I just saw the writings on the wall, and I was like, when Jeff finally got that last question and he won, I was like, yeah, I saw this coming, and I just felt like it was all writings on the wall, and it felt predictable, and I feel like it was predictable, but it didn't mean it wasn't intense, and I didn't want this outcome to happen in the slightest, but the fact that it did happen just wasn't as surprising to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there on that one, Chris Clark. Astute observations, as always, by the master producer himself. Let's go into round number 3, which we're talking about now. Frank, you're the stat guy. You're the man. What do you think when you saw the categories? If you will, actually do me a favor. Normally, this is my test. I want you to do it. Tell us the categories that each of these men got.
Yeah, so Snyder for his well, we only know his first 2 because that's all he needed.
All he needed.
His 2-pointer was in Scorsese, and then his 3-pointer was in comedy. And for Mark Ellis, his 2-pointer was rom-coms. His 3-pointer was Cameron Diaz, Q Mance. Okay. And then his 5-pointer, his 5-pointer was in the category of war. Yeah.
Yeah. War's a tough one, isn't it, Taylor Robinson?
Yes, it is. It seems like there are a lot of competitors that struggle with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to be the one. Now, is JTE the one who's like kind of like the Rain Man when it comes to war films? Is that what I'm remembering?
Yeah, back in his team match against Above the Line, he just destroyed in the war category.
Yeah, he just blacked out there. You know, when I saw rom-coms from Mark Ellis, I'm like, okay, he could probably get this one. Cameron Diaz, yeah, I actually kind of felt confident in this one too for him. But when war came up,
as a 5-pointer, it's tough.
As a 5-pointer, if war came up as a 2-pointer, I would still be a little weary of it. I'm like, I don't know, maybe he can, maybe he can't. But for it to be the 5-pointer, I just saw it being the death nail there. And I just knew when we saw the war be dealt out, it was all hell had broken loose. Chris Clark, do you agree with that assumption there? When you saw war, that was pretty much it?
Well, war is like, what is it good for? Like, look, the action, Edwin Starr, I love that song. But look, war is kind of like this category that you don't see a lot in the Schmoedown. And I don't feel like, and it came up a lot in this match, it seemed like. I don't know if it was just me, but it felt like Army movies came up a lot in this match. And, I feel like the war category, this whole last round was just, again, as I was saying, felt like we know the outcome. It just felt like we knew where we were going with this, and it broke my heart. It really broke my heart. I felt like Ellis did get the short end of the stick when it came to his luck on this one.
Yeah, I definitely did. Baby carrots. What did we say the other week, Frank Janisch? I said, like Shannon Sharp, Skip, you can either have hot dubs or hot L's. Skip.
Yeah.
Skip. And you got a hot L. Skip. Come on, Skip. Which they've been off for the past week, and it's very saddening to me. But what did you think when Mark Ellis got that hot L? To me, honestly, that's a career killer. This match is a career killer. I think 4 in a row, I don't see why he would compete in singles again.
Yeah, and at least not for a while, and that's what he said in his post-match interview. A lot of people, not exactly.
I know he said not a while. I don't see it being ever.
It's possible. You're right. It's possible that's what he's alluding to, that he'll never. He gave us the old Christian Harloff message of, I want to concentrate on the game and build it from there. So, yeah, you lost 4 in a row. But look at and in the stat segment, I said that through these 4 losses, he's still answering 72% of his questions correct. So it's above his lifetime average. These past 4 matches he's had losses in. So he's not playing horrible here. I mean, he answered 69% of his questions here in this match, which is about his average, right? So he just gets in these some bad luck moments when he just can't hit the 5-pointers when he needs to, and he hasn't done it for the past few matches now, and that's really been the death knell for him every single time. And if he can overcome that, he can start winning a lot more matches and striking fear in a lot more people. So I hope it's not what's a retirement. I hope it's not that.
Taylor Robinson, do you think we've seen the last of Baby Carrots in the singles division?
I mean, I really hope not, but I kind of feel like this announcement from Ellis has been coming for a while. It just, to me, even the past couple of matches that he's been in, he just hasn't quite fully been there for me. So I don't know. Maybe he'll step away for a while and then decide to come back. But from what it seems like now, I don't think we're going to see him at least for a good while, if he ever does come back. But I don't know about that.
I think it's conceivable to see both Mark and Christian in the free-for-all, but I'm just throwing that out there. I think they're both going to be on the table, and I think, one by one they're going to step up and sit down. That's just an early yes. I have no inside information, and no one tells me what to say. So I guess here, guys, we should say this. Where do you see – we see where Mark Ellis is going. Chris Clark, I want to throw it to you real quick. Where do you see Jeff Snyder going in singles going forward?
In singles, Jeff? I foresee Jeff, this is probably, and this is what I hope, is that this is the only victory of the Lions Den this season. I feel like Jeff and JTE are going to fall the frick apart after this. This is the only victory. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to be optimistic and say that I don't foresee Jeff lasting long. I feel like if he goes up against like a Bibiani, or if he goes up against like a Drew McQueen or something again, he is going to fall apart. Yes, this was a good match for him because he beat Ellis, but it was still a very meh match for actually Jeff Sneider himself and his skill set himself. Because if you look at it, he only got 6 points in round 1. That's not like Jeff Sneider to do that. So for all I know, and all intents and purposes, this could be a one-hit wonder, and he could fall apart later in the season. I can be barraged by death threats. I don't care. But look, he's probably going to be he will fall apart, and Humpty Dumpty will not be able to be put back together again, no matter how much Tom Dagnino wants it. So I foresee doom for the rest of Jeff Sneider for the rest of the season. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. I don't agree with you, but that's okay. Taylor Robinson, where do you see Jeff Snyder going from here?
I really only see Jeff Snyder going up from here. I think that winning this match will just give him more confidence, which I don't really think he needs, but it'll give him more confidence. And I really don't see him or the Lions Den taking any kind of hit or falling at all anytime soon. I feel like they're just kind of running the show right now, and I think we're still going to see that happen for a while.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way that it's going to be. I mean, here's the thing. We can talk about it all we want. And Chris Clark can say this is the doom of the Patriots and Jeff Sneider and the Lions Den, but the Patriots has solidified their place on the Mount Rushmore of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, much to Chris Clark's dismay. They are the greatest team in the history of the game. We'll see what top 10 does against them. Let me go to you, Frank Janisch. Not only where does Jeff Sneider go from here, what did the Schmoevillians out there think of this match? First part first, second part second.
Yeah, I got confused what you just said, so I'm going to do my own thing. Snyder, he's put his first foot forward to meeting JTE in a rematch. Now it's up to JTE to defeat John Roca at the live event. Right, so you got that match happening. Then there's this Bibiani Drew Weenie match that's going to be happening. So we have these other two matches that are going to have heavy implications on who Jeff Sneider could potentially meet. Now he's already, taken on Drew McWeenie, right? He's already, and then he's lost to JTE, so he wants that rematch, like he says in his exit interview. So it's very interesting to see how these other matches are going to impact who Jeff Sneider ends up playing, because you take a look at these three separate matches. They're all kind of converging and then going to see who's worthy of playing the next in the next championship match, whether it's against Sam Levine or against Rachel Cushing. I can't wait to see that. But going forward, I do think Jeff Sneider can probably find himself in a number one contenders match. I really do think it's going to happen for him. I don't know how he's going to get there or who he's going to have to face to get there, but I think he's got it in him to at least get to that spot. Whether or not he can win that match, the number one contender match, I don't know. Depends who he's playing. But you did ask about what the fans are saying, and we had you guys tweet at Schmoedown RD your thoughts and what you thought of the match. And I'm going to start off with Kristen Smith. She goes, "Why does everyone I love retire? Why?" There's a lot of H's and Y's in that word, why. And then you got Kevin Tucker. He tweets at us saying, "I really wish people would stop retiring. If you don't want the belt, play exhibitions." And then we have Oleg Sakyu. I hope I said that right. Because we asked, should Mark Ellis retire? And he says, no, he shouldn't retire. He's my favorite. He's my second favorite competitor. Go Mark Ellis live. He didn't tell us who his first competitor is, his favorite first competitor. So I don't know. Maybe it's Christian. And then we got Kate, who says, plainly, all Patriots are cheaters. Now, for the last tweet, and this is something that I want to talk about with you guys, because this was a big point of contention after the match had happened. It's in the comments. It's on YouTube, on the MTS Facebook page. Jedi DMF, he says, great match, very tense match in round 3. And then he says, referring to the first round, he goes, I would have challenged that Ant-Man question. Now, in the first round, we know the category comic book, who appeared, what Avenger made a cameo in Ant-Man, and Mark Ellis answered Falcon, while Jeff Sneider answered Captain America. So they took both answers, but a lot of people are saying that, the end credit scene with Captain America, it doesn't really count because it's from Civil War, but people are also saying that end credit scenes are part of the movie, so therefore it's a valid answer. Like, that's what Jeff Snyder's been arguing. So, Taylor, where do you stand on this Ant-Man question?
I mean, for me, when I answered the question, my mind didn't even go to Captain America because I was just focused on movie. I was thinking the actual movie, and so my mind went to Falcon because that's like a pretty memorable scene in the movie. Right. So when Jeff answered Captain America, I had to stop and think about it for a second. I was like, okay, I guess you can count that, but I don't really know if I would.
Right, so it kind of leads me to believe that Jeff Sneider might have guessed on this question, and he's just Captain America because Captain America is, one of the most well-known Avengers, right? So, because you're right, the obvious point would to go to Falcon. He's in a big, memorable chunk, of that movie with Ant-Man. It's very memorable. It's like, why would your mind go to the end credit scene? So, yeah, Brad?
I'm two schools of thought on this because I agree with the end credit scenes are a part of the movie. Would you say Samuel L. Jackson isn't in Iron Man 1? Of course he is. So I see where they're leaning toward on that, but
what other people are saying is that clip they showed at the end of Ant-Man is actually
was
from
it part of
Civil War.
Yeah,
War.
yeah.
So it's like, what would you say that, like, look at Back to the Future? At the end of Back to the Future Part 2, they show you stuff from Part 3. Would you say that stuff is part of Part 2?
Yeah. Would you say that Clara Clayton is technically in Part 2? Yeah. You know what? After you laid that out to me, absolutely not. Jeff Sneider should not have gotten the point. And it would have made the difference in the match. But after you put it to me like that, yeah, I don't agree. If it's footage from another film, then no. Then it doesn't count. Now, if it's like the post-credit scene with Sam Jackson, or when Mark Ruffalo was he in Iron Man 3, I believe, in the post-credit scene, certain things like that, or you see Thor and these things. Yeah, you know what? I agree. Yeah, Jeff Snyder should not have gotten the point on this. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Could have been challenged, and it wasn't, but here we are.
But it would have made the difference anyway. So thank you all for sending in the tweets and the questions and concerns at Schmoedown RD. That's where you can find us on the social media and on Schmoedown Rundown on Instagram. Isn't that right, Frank Janisch?
That is correct.
Well, guys, we had 3 matches this week, 3 incredible matches. Bruce Campbell was involved. We saw a fatal 5-way that rocked our socks, and we saw Ellis, maybe the end of the baby carrot era in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I want to thank Taylor Robinson for joining us here on the show. Taylor, any parting words, thoughts, anything you want to plug here at the tail end of the show?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you guys for having me on. This was a lot of fun getting to talk about these matches. It's been an incredible start to this season, to season 5. The first 3 matches we had were just out of this world. And then we got another 3 matches that have just set the bar so incredibly high. So I'm very, very excited to see what the rest of this season is going to hold.
Absolutely. And where can people find you on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff?
Twitter and YouTube is Finally Tailored, at Finally Tailored, and Instagram is _Finally Tailored. That's where you can find me.
Much like my suits, find her at Finally Tailored everywhere. There, Frank Janisch. I do want to say real quick, we got some heat, like we were burying Matt Nost last week on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely not. I think Matt Nost is an incredible player. He missed.
I might have taken a little shot.
You might have taken some shots. I thought he did well. I mean, I just think that Roca is the driving force, and Matt Nost is the Robin, a little bit. But that's just my feelings. So thank you all for sending in your feedback there. Frank Janisch, anything that you want to plug, say, and when can people find you?
Yeah, actually, you know what? We just got this information. Yeah, we just got the information
news
from Christian himself about next week's matches, because they weren't posted. They may have been posted by now. You're watching this or listening to this. They may have been put up now. But Christian says for the team match, it's going to be a team you may have heard of before, 2 teams you may have heard of before, but one more beloved than I think the other, just because of who's on them. Box Office Breakdown versus Superhero News. Now, I try to ask who's on Box Office Breakdown. I'm not quite sure. Superhero News.
Emoji.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Superhero News, the new guys over at Superhero News, it's not Hector and it's not Adam. They were formerly Superhero News, but the guys that do Superhero News, I think they're going to be the team now. But Box Office Breakdown is going to make their return to the Schmoedown. Crazy. But then you have your singles match on Friday, and that will see the return of the one and only Bonnie Somerville, and she will be taking on Janine the Machine. Janine will make her debut in the Schmoedown this coming Friday. It's going to be very exciting. If you've been watching her little round 1 recaps on Twitter or on the MTS Facebook page, she's been playing along. I can't wait to see what she brings to the Schmoedown as a whole for a whole match. It's going to be great. Definitely don't want to miss those. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, those are some big matches that we can't wait for next week. I'm glad that we got that news in at the wire last second before we wrapped up there. But I was saying, Frank, where can people follow you and find you online?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29. And I just, as an aside, guys, it was a rough week for myself, and I don't know for Brad. And I just want to say, this personally, I'm going to say this personally, this wasn't our best episode. I apologize because we can do a lot better, and we will. I personally feel bad that I couldn't bring the level that I wish I would have brought on this episode. I just want to get that out there because I'm conscious of what we put out there, and it wasn't my best effort, and I apologize. But going forward to next week, you're gonna get some A+ stuff.
Well, Frank Janisch, you're just a failure at life. I don't know what else to say. Chris Clark, your side. Chris Clark, since you were floating in and out of the episode, where can people find you? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, it's all cool. It's all cool. This episode was great, Frank. Don't beat yourself up. It was awesome. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can also find me on Twitter on Take 3 Productions, hosting Suddenly Soundtracks, where we judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. Or you can find me on YouTube at No Man's Land Entertainment. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. Chris Clark, real quick. You talk about the ranking movies based on their soundtrack. Is Back to the Future in the top 5?
Well, Back to the Future actually is a score. We separate from.
There's a soundtrack though.
Yep, I know, and that could be an episode down the future for Suddenly Soundtrack. So you never know.
If you do that, you have my number.
You know that.
We want to thank Taylor Robinson, Chris Clark on the boards. I'm Brad Gilmore. You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Check me out on the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast this week with Booker T, and we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Frank and I can settle our differences off air here on the Schmoedown Rundown. We'll see you next week.
Peace, Gilmore.